Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and early. Dark out there. 3 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. You guys know when I miss one day making a video, I am not just goofing around. I spent the last 2 days compiling a bunch of stories. I got a lot to talk about today. This first video, I want to talk about, I saw a proliferation of just blatantly false, dishonest statements, stories, accusations from right-wing media, right-wing politicians, right-wing speakers, and I got three of the most egregious, dishonest statement stories to talk about right now. First one I want to talk about is, I'll just put it right out there, that Joe Biden's new Green Deal is going to limit beef for Americans. Here's an interesting thing. If you just Google this, something along the lines of liberals take away meat or something along those lines, you'll see that this lie has been going on since 2018, 2019, 2020. And in 2019, it was Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi wanted to take away red meat. And they just keep regurgitating this story. There is nothing true about this. Biden has never said anything. Kamala Harris has never said anything about taking away red meat. The new deal, this new Green Deal has nothing to do with it. It all goes back to a study. I believe it was the University of Michigan, just doing a study. A university doing a study on how it might reduce gases, and that's all. Supposedly, that's all where this came from. It has nothing to do with any legislation. Like I said, this lie has been getting regurgitated over and over. And the most pathetic thing is that the amount of politicians that just latched onto this. Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Donald Trump Jr., Greg Abbott, just to name a few. I'll put their tweets down below. I mean, they just jumped right on this. And they had their pitchforks and their 6-shooters out, and they were, come take my meat, and they're all up in arms about this. And this, like I said, this same lie has been going on and on if you Google it, you'll see it goes back to 2018, 2019. This lie's just been getting rehashed every couple of months. There's nothing true about this. Nothing, absolutely nothing. You can look on PolitiFact, you can look on Snopes. Nothing true to it at all. So I'm going to put the humorous thing. The Daily Mail came out with this nonsense last Friday. Fox News hopped right on it. They, over the weekend, 72 times, they brought up this. They talked about this Biden taking away red meat over the weekend. Now, I guess I'll put this story down below too. Monday, Fox News came out and admitted that they were wrong, that this was a false claim, that Biden did not ever say this about taking away red meat or Americans having to eat less than 4 pounds of red meat or 4 hamburgers, or I don't know what nonsense. You know what? I'm not going to waste one bit of my time or brain power remembering a lie, All right, so I'm going to put the tweets down below. So Donald Trump Jr. brags about how he thinks he ate 4 pounds of red meat just yesterday. And right there, it almost made me upchuck in my mouth, because I could just picture his colon. I know. Last thing you want to think about is Donald Trump Jr.'s colon. But, he's bragging about how he thinks he ate 4 pounds of red meat yesterday. That's like me bragging that I ate a box of devil dogs before I did this video or something, It's just, it makes me nauseous. Anyway, just one politician or conservative media figure after the next just jumped all over this. And it was nonsense. And none of them even took the time to see if it was real. You can see they all just watched Fox News, Daily Mail, and then they just got under, started tweeting just like their boss, Don Trump Sr., and just rage tweeted. And it's nonsense, complete nonsense. And the most interesting part, like I said, if you Google this, you'll see that this same nonsense about liberals taking away meat or regulating 90% less meat in our diets or whatever nonsense it was. This has just been going on and on every year for at least going back 3 years. Google it and see for yourself. All right, next thing I want to talk about, a Miami private school has now made it a rule that vaccinated teachers cannot mingle with unvaccinated people. Because somewhere on Facebook, in some random misinformation they found on Facebook, they now believe that because of whatever, with in some Christian far-right circles, they believe that there's conspiracy theories on what they used to develop this vaccine. I don't want to get too descriptive here. Maybe parts of human DNA. I'll just stop right there. All right. So this is nonsense. This is nonsense, right? So this school now, they believe that at least 3 of their faculty's menstrual cycles have been affected by vaccinated people. This is the story they found on Facebook, that vaccinated people, because of the lie that human DNA is in this vaccine, this school now believes that vaccinated people, when they come in contact with unvaccinated people, it affects female menstruation cycles. And the school even claims that 3 of their women have had their menstrual cycles. They spontaneously went into heavy menstrual cycles or something along those lines. So they're now banning anybody who's been vaccinated as being bad, as causing these menstrual cycle abnormalities. This is the kind of stuff I see this. I know everybody puts out dishonest stuff, and there's gullible people. There's dishonest and gullible people everywhere. But just over this last week, I just saw this insane amount of just nonsense out there from the right. All right, last thing I want to talk about, and this one really ticks me off, is Rick Santorum, a CNN contributor. It's kind of caught my eye. I've heard the name Rick Santorum before, and CNN being a more left-leaning media site, why the hell is Rick Santorum a contributor to CNN? I'll look into that on another video, but doesn't concern this video. So in a lecture, in a talk in front of a conservative group of students, he claims that America was built from nothing, that before the Europeans came here, there was nothing here. No Native Americans. He then kind of backtracks and says, well, Native Americans, he says, excuse me, but Native Americans really didn't contribute anything. There's nothing really that Native American culture has contributed to our current culture. Just kind of, they were nothing. They were savages. We came here and there was nothing. There wasn't millions of indigenous people already with successful civilizations already here. And this just infuriates me, this revisionist history. One of the biggest lies. Now, there's a link down below. I'm making sure this link is down there. It's from the history website. And it talks about the Iroquois Confederacy. And you know where I'm going with this. How it contributed to our democracy. How when the Founding Fathers, I believe it was in 1787, got together and were looking for a system of governance, there was nothing in Europe that they could use where they were using kind of a federal system where individual governing entities got together like a federal system. One of the things they wanted to avoid in the Iroquois Confederacy was that it was the Oneida, the Mohawk. There's 6 of them. I'm sorry, I can't remember them all now. But these leaders were hereditary. And that was one thing that they wanted to avoid coming from King George. But the whole idea, there was nothing in Europe that had that same kind of idea to govern a large area of land kind of individually like we do here in the United States today. And there's people that debate this or don't debate this, but this is just one example. The Iroquois Confederacy, pretty much a blueprint for our Constitution, for our democracy. And Rick Santorum, they didn't contribute nothing. And I could sit here and talk about this all day. on how in the 1800s, the U.S. government took away the children from Native Americans to Americanize them or make them more white, to strip them of their culture, their music, their food, their language, everything. And that's a good reason why there isn't more Native American influence that we should be proud of. Even people that aren't Native American should be proud of how this country grew. The real story here. But according to Rick Santorum, we came here and there was nothing. We built this from nothing. So those are just three blatantly dishonest statements. And those are just three that I came up with out of like at least a dozen that I came across in the last week. All right, I'll be back later. There's so much more I want to talk about with all these police. I want to talk about the body cam footage being released for the shooting in North Carolina. Only 20 seconds of it being released too in one of my next videos. All right, you guys have a great Tuesday. I will be back shortly.